A big thanks to Squarespace for sponsoring this week's video.
So in today's video, I want to talk all about shooting in just flat conditions. It's the middle of the day. We've had some direct sunlight, we've got some overcast conditions, but it's not like nice overcast where you've got, dark clouds or anything. It's that high cloud that's just awful. So I'm going to try and pick things out. The trees have got this really nice green leaves on now, so that should help. And just go through what works, what doesn't work, and how I go about shooting at this time of day. Because if I'm honest, I don't often come out at this time of day. I usually come out in the morning and sometimes in the evening. So I hope you enjoy the video.
Sailors passing on the street, are you ready for peace?
Morning everybody, fantastic to see you all again. I am so excited. I'm finally out in my camper van again, and after 4 months, and it's a bit of a middle of the day at the moment, and I thought it'd be a bit of a challenge to go out. The skies are sort of a hazy blue. I'm not going to be shooting any big landscapes, but I might find something. But what I want to do is just go out, have a walk for 2 or 3 hours and see what I can find. It's good to do this sometimes because when things are a little bit more difficult, it increases your creativity. And I want to talk a lot more about that and how doing things that are more difficult, where you wouldn't usually go out, you'll start to look a little bit more. And I think that's really important in photography. So I'm going to have a cup of coffee and then we can set off. I'm in a stunning location as well.
Ships are filling up fast, are you ready for ease? Forget bad memories and leave those hurting knees behind.
So one of the things that I think about when the light's harsh and the shadows that are just causing problems, and certainly if you look in this direction, so if I just show you a video in this direction, you can see that it doesn't look great. But as soon as you turn around and you start looking up, you can start to spot things that are just catching the light. And that's what you need to look for. You need to look for those lights and shades where there might be some shadow. And what I'm going to do is try and shoot these trees. I've got my long lens on, actually, my 70-200 f2.8 lens. And I'm going to hand hold it because obviously that's the great thing about this time of day. And I'm just going to try and shoot this tree up here because I think it looks pretty good. So it's just a question of just trying to catch those backlit leaves. And that looks pretty good. So I'm just trying to do it in a portrait shot. I don't want to get any sky in, obviously, because it's really boring. And as long as there's backgrounds is in shade and the tree is just catching the light, and in this case this sort of back side light's really nice, then it looks really good.
Grass is greener on this side, are you ready for new? New beginnings, new pride, let your spirit shine through.
But if you look for that, and that's what I'm going to look for as I go around, and when I find a really great photo, we'll stop and talk about it a little bit more, then it can really improve your shots at this really harsh, light time of day. Now to do it, if you're in the city, then a building's good to just create that shade, and that can be sort of the backdrop for the side lit or backlit tree. But ideally you've got a few hills that will create that shade as well.
Shine through. Many more come.
The other thing I want to talk about just whilst I'm in these trees here is that you can see that the light source at the moment is coming from this direction and it's hitting the side of these trees. And I've talked about it so much before, but it's so important. And because it's coming slightly in this direction, it's slightly more backlit, so you're seeing a little bit more shade than you are sun. And if you turn around and move around this tree, and I'm going to grab the tripod and move you around, you'll just see the difference it makes. So I'm going to grab the tripod, walk around, and you'll see. So I've just walked 90 degrees now, just not even that, I've walked 45 degrees. So the sun's now coming from here, it's probably about 30 degrees to the camera, and it's just not quite as nice. And what I like to be is maybe 120 degrees from the camera to get that really nice look on the trees.
Grass is greener on this side. Are you ready for new?
So I've just found this really interesting little scene just hidden away here. We've got these sort of old, I think the hawthorn bushes are just springing their fresh green leaves that look amazing. And they're just sort of hidden in this little sort of dell. And then these silver birches just look really nice as well. The sun is pretty much, it's pretty much backlit scene, so I'm shooting almost directly into the sun. It's just off to about 10 degrees. And then there's the stone wall up there, and I've just got to be careful of the horizon. But it looks really good, and I'm just shooting this on my Z6, pretty much the scene you're seeing now, at about 35 millimeters. And if I look in that direction, just to show you how different it can be. So in the other direction, you can see that it's just blue sky. Now, there's a temptation to shoot that direction, but I don't think that ever results in anything particularly brilliant. Right, I'll grab this again, I think, and keep walking.
Let your spirit shine through.
So it really is hazy at the moment, and that makes it so hard to include the sky. But there's a little bit of a cloud just over this hill in the background. It's actually Castle Crag, it's called, in the Lake District. And there's three things in the scene that I like, so I've tried to include these three things. There's this tree down here on the right hand side, there's Castle Crag, and there's the cloud. Now I didn't think they worked at first, but then I noticed that there's some trees on the horizon line, which I think sort of work well with the cloud, the tree on the right, and those trees, with Castle Crag being in the middle. Now, this is a good example of trying to scout for compositions and things, and why you should go out in the middle of the day. This is not going to make an amazing photo because the light's not quite right, but I do think that when I come back here in optimal conditions, then I know to come to this location, and that will make a really, really nice shot. But yeah, what I'm trying to do is just isolate those subjects and just try and create a nice combination between those subjects. Creating triangles is good. Anything like that, really. It's so hot. I don't like hot.
And we will keep it steady. We will be the confetti. And if we fail, we just reboot.
Ooh, so it's midday now, and there's still shots to be sound. So you can see here, these trees through here look really, really good. And I think this might make quite a nice sort of mid-ground as well. So I'm going to try a shot from down there where you are, and then I'm going to come up here and see if I can pick some details out with my 70-200 lens. But yeah, this isn't bad at all.
Keep it steady. We will be the confetti. And if we fail, we just reboot.
Right, I'm going to try see what I can pick out up there. So I quite like, there's a tree without any leaves on it in the middle, which looks really good. Just be careful about my edges.
Nothing can hold us back. Oh, nothing can take us down.
Oh, I love VR in lenses and in body camera stabilization. It just is so good. It makes you be able to shoot. I mean, I'm shooting at 200 millimeters, a hundredth of a second, which, you know, to be honest, if you're good at hand holding, you should be able to do that anyway. But there's just never an issue when you've got that amount of VR. So it's just about trying to pick out little details that maybe you wouldn't see just when you look at the bigger scene. You know, just how just maybe some patterns in the trees, just something that's just a bit different. I really enjoy shooting with a long lens. I find it it's just good fun really, because you feel like you're quite free. You can pick out lots of different details. So yeah. Right, time for a drink, and then we'll push on up to the top, I think, which is a bit of a climb in this heat. I say this heat, you're going to laugh because it's like, I don't know, about 14 degrees C. But when you're British and you're from the north of England, that's really warm.
Go out and face the cold, but it's a really good time for a monologue. Can't let this pass, I find it hard to breathe. The time is up, the bell has rang, and it's really hard to understand that losing you now is the only choice for me.
So I just stopped here and I thought there was a shot in this direction, so with the sun behind me, and I thought it'd be good to shoot it. And I think there is sort of a shot, but there was one thing that sort of ruined it for me, and I just wanted to explain that because myself, I think I would have missed that before I started shooting more woodland shots, actually, where I started to be a little bit more observant of sort of small details. And that is that there's one of the trees, if you can just see behind me, is quite dark. So there's all these silver birches which look really nice. One of them's got this beautiful colour on it, and I was probably going to crop out the sky, because I think the sky just competes with attention too much. But that is a dominant tree in the middle, that sort of round tree, and I feel that because of that, unfortunately, the scene doesn't quite work. And I just thought it'd be good to point that out, because there's lots of shots that I sort of show on YouTube, and I do tend to tell you the things that I don't think have worked, but I don't do it too often in the field, and I think I need to do more of that. Okay, hope that's helped, and keep going. So I spotted this tree here, which was really interesting, just growing out of the side of the mountain, and the background mountain. And then I thought this tree was quite nice as well, and I tried to compose something, and again it just didn't quite work. And there was a couple of reasons. One, I feel that the light's probably not quite right here. It is side light, but it's getting quite harsh now, and I think I need to be shooting more defined subjects. And this isn't that defined against the background because it goes into the similar colours in the background, so it just doesn't quite work. Now I thought I might be able to come a bit closer and shoot with it in the mountain, but again I can't quite get a composition on it. The thing is, when you're shooting something like this as well, it's very tempting to think, oh, there's another nice tree, oh, there's another nice tree, and include all these trees. But I often think that less is more. So when you do find a composition like this, just try and only add things that add to the composition and remove things that don't add to the composition.
Someday our ocean will find its shore. If you've never been
So as part of planning where to go, I wanted to check the sun and the path of the sun and make sure that between me and the sun there's going to be a hill that I can sort of get underneath. Because the idea behind that is that that hill is then going to be in shade, and then trees are going to start to get lit up by it. And you can see that behind me. I've got this sort of peak of a hill, and then I've got these silver birches that are catching the light. So I think to make the most out of, you know, days like this where I'm shooting in the middle of the day, a little bit of planning needs to go into it, and then you can get some great shots. Now I've got a stone wall here and some other things. This is the bit that I wanted to come to, the bit that I thought was going to be best, and I think looking at it, it looks so good, so I'm really excited about getting some shots. So I'm going to walk down there and see what I can find.
when you feel there is time for us, then be by the same old road. Minutes ago, you were still mine. Feels like I'm drifting too far from the line. When you left,
So this high cloud is really coming strong now, and it's good for woodland photography actually, because shooting in overcast conditions are sort of the next best thing to sort of rain and fog. Rain is a bit better, and then fog is probably my favourite if I'm going to rank them. Although, having said that, the backlight on these trees here was really good, and just as I got here and then the sun went, I think I got a few shots. But I've spent a bit of time here now. I've been wandering around for about, probably about an hour, and I like this wall here, and I like all the silver birches of different sizes, and I want to try and create a bit of depth by having this one in the foreground. I've also tried with some moss on the rocks, and then there's a payoff in the background, which is this dead tree, which I think looks quite good because it's quite bright. Your eye's drawn to it. So yeah, I think it's pretty good actually. It's just so beautiful here, so beautiful. I think I'm going to take this and I'm going to head up a little bit higher, and then see if I can just find a lone tree somewhere to try and take a picture of.
I'd understand I will never be that close to someone again. The further I go, the closer you will feel. Someday our roads have crossed before, and someday our ocean will find its shore. If you've never been
I think this is really interesting. I've just come across this silver birch here, and then behind me there's another one just down below, and you can see that the colour of them is different, and it tells a bit of a story really. You're trying to tell a story because you want to evoke an emotion, and that emotion may just be something, an emotion of how did that happen, or emotion of oh that's beautiful, but whatever it is, a story's part of it. So yeah, I like this, and I like the simplicity of it as well. I've just included the rock at the top right in the photo, just to sort of anchor the scene a little bit. The light's not great now. I really need side light now, but the sun's very soft. It worked quite well in the woodlands down there, but when I'm out on the hill here, I could really do with some side light just to define the tree a little bit better, and it would be really good when just that tree's in light and the background's not. I think that would make it stand out. Do you know, I didn't think I'd enjoy the photography in the middle of the day because I don't often get out, but actually now I'm going to do more photography at this time of the day because it's just fantastic, and you really have to be a little bit more creative, and that's what's important, because then when you come to actually go and do some photos, you've improved your creativity, and that's something that just needs a lot of practice. It's so dry.
It's time for us, then I'll be by the same old road. If you've never been this tired, then you've never been this in love. When you feel there is time for us, then I'll be by the same old road.
So I've just tried to arrange these silver birches a little bit, just to try and have a little bit of an abstract shot. I'm going to chop in a little bit tighter at the top and bottom. And what I was trying to do is I was trying to get them to look as nice together. So it's really difficult to explain, but I didn't want them all bunched together. I wanted a little bit of balance in this scene. I mean, I talk about balance a lot, and sometimes in the comments people say, well, sometimes you don't need to balance a photo, better to break the rules. Well, yeah, but you need to know the rules first, and actually sometimes balanced photos are better. But I'm not saying that an unbalanced photo is not going to work, but in this case, I think it needs to be balanced. So yeah, so I'm just trying to sort of separate the silver birches to make them look as pleasing as possible. I want it to be a fairly calming image, and the sun's not out, it's softbox, it looks fantastic, and I'm starving because it's now 3 p.m. and I've been going for 5 hours and I've not had any lunch. So I'm going to go and head back to my camper van. And just before I go, I just want to thank the sponsor of this week's video, which is Squarespace. And Squarespace have sponsored this channel for such a long time. All the things like prints and calendars and my new book Woodlands still available. My workshops have all been done with Squarespace, and Squarespace have made it so easy for me so I can concentrate on my photography and running my business. Okay, that's it. Thanks ever so much for watching, and until next Sunday, bye.
And if we fail, we just reboot. We just reboot.